Hello, and welcome to the Kathleen Spracklin Podcast. I am a woman on a mission to assemble a cadre of writers, thinkers, and teachers who are transforming the world one character at a time. And it all starts with one thing, a deep understanding of human motivation, why people do what they do, and the forces that drive them. To gain that understanding, I am mining the intersection of psychology, theology, and philosophy to make you a better writer. This is episode number 48, Naming Your Character Traits, Empathy Traits, the Dependability Subgroup. We've been playing with naming character traits for quite a while now. We began with writing scenarios on 4x6 file cards where we logged a story about our life or a story that came out of our character's life. And we nailed it down to where it was in the level of consciousness of our character. Now we're at the part where we're going to name the characters. And so far we've already reviewed how you could name the character traits from the resilience, balance, and insight groups. What remains is the empathy group, and boy is the empathy group large. The empathy group is so big that we're going to deal with it in parts. Tonight, we're going to be dealing with the dependability subgroup. So, we know, first of all, as a quick review, how did we know which of our four groups we wanted? We had our four divisional questions. What did our story feature? What was the big driving point of the character trait? Was it the character fighting against the external world? That would have been resilience. Was it the character managing himself or herself? That would have been balance. Was it about the wisdom or ability to properly assess a situation? That would be the insight group. And finally, we're working with the remaining traits, the largest number, that have to do with relationships. And this makes a lot of sense because all of these character traits tie to struggles that have been around as long as man has been man, and many going back into the animal world as well. So this is no doubt not surprising that this is the largest subgroup. So let's take a look at how we're going to be breaking down the empathy group. When we did our first analysis, we broke our empathy group down into... Okay, so when we first broke down the empathy group, we broke it down by subgroup. And the top of each of your story cards should already have its group and its subgroup. And the subgroups of empathy were broken down by their individual questions. The dependability group had to do with whether or not our character could be counted on to come through when the chips were down. And that's the group that we'll expand tonight. Another group, the honor group, has to do with when our character is involved in an asymmetrical relationship where our character is not the one with the greater power. Our character is the underdog. A third group that we will do later has to do with, we named sociability, and it has to do with to what degree is it pleasant to be around our character. And the final group, the response group, has to do with whether our character recognizes the good things that have been given to him and the response that our character makes upon recognizing all of the good things that are a part of his or her life. So let's return our focus to the focus for the evening, which is the dependability subgroup. Can our character be counted on to come through? And there are four character traits in the dependability subgroup. Loyalty has to do with honoring one's group membership. Family would be a very typical type of loyalty, maybe loyalty to one's school, loyalty to one's peer group, loyalty to one's friends. It can even encompass very casual forms of loyalty, like honoring who was first in line. And if somebody has to step out for a moment, the group would quite naturally allow the person back to where they were, if it wasn't their fault that they had to leave the line. Things like that actually fall under loyalty. The next group in that one was responsibility, and that has to do with keeping one's commitments. If you say you'll be there at 5 o'clock, are you there at 5 o'clock? Is our character there at 5 o'clock? Can others count on our character to follow through with the things that were promised? Sincerity has to do with whether or not our character is truthful in speech and actions. We will find honesty in a different area with a slightly different meaning. Sincerity is where we're going to be talking about relationships and keeping those relationships truthful. Trustworthiness has to do with whether or not our character can be counted on to continue doing what's right even when no one is looking. And those are the 4 character traits in the dependability subgroup. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown. Tomorrow we'll play another game with naming the character trait from a little story, and then we'll proceed onward with more of the traits in the empathy group. But that's all we have for tonight. Bye-bye.